Extra, extra. Again, 811. This is the link on the breeze. That's Sabrina. I'm Chris. Jason Solis right there. Joe Sir. Doing the show here. And, well, one thing that's definitely different with COVID and the onset of this pandemic and all of the restrictions is the way it's affected our youth who are trying to go to college, right? I mean, I got a son who's a senior, and it's a big conversation. What are you going to do? Are you going to wait? Are you still going to apply? And so I think it's really cool what these guys are doing here. The Chamorro Association of the Midwest. Yes, that's actually breaking news. We have Chamorros in the Midwest. First of all, we've infiltrated the, what do you call the Midwest, Jay? It's not the Bible Belt. It's the corn, whatever.
Yeah, no, but I mean, we are very coastal people because we tend to gravitate towards the water. But yeah,
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
there are trace amounts of our people like in the
Trace amounts.
middle of the country.
I can't, dude. When I was in the States, I can't handle not seeing the ocean. I got to see the
Yeah.
ocean. I can't imagine
A
being
lake is not the same. A river is
landlocked.
not the same. A tributary is not the same. You gotta have the big ocean.
Okay.
The
Now,
Pacific too.
now that we've dressed them down for living in the Midwest,
No, not at all.
let's bring them on.
Welcome.
Good morning. And so we do have. So this is. Are you guys the kind of the heads of the Chamorros of the Midwest Association?
Yes, I'm the acting president right now. Right below me is Antoinette. She's our education director, and Christine Camacho is one of our board members.
Right. And so
Where are you guys zooming in from?
I'm in Ohio, Dayton, Ohio.
Wow.
I'm technically in the Mid-Atlantic. I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
All right.
And I'm in the northeastern part of the state, opposite from Tim. I'm up in Cleveland. So not far, actually closer to Christine, or about the same, maybe a little actually.
Yeah, we're
Right.
closer
than
to-
Dayton. Also, just mention that the reason there are Chamorros in Ohio, aside from a variety of things, is there is an Air Force base,
Ah.
right? So Chamorro settlement patterns tend to follow U.S. military recruitment. So there are a few of us here.
Nice.
Now, what I would like to know, ladies and gentlemen, what I would like to know is have you dropped your distinct Chamorro accent in place of the Midwest? The almost like Chicagoland.
No.
Okay. Yeah. You got to
Oh,
stay
he
connected
boy.
to your
Oh,
island
he-
roots, bro.
Oh, he boy.
Yeah, people ask us where we're from, and we try to tell them because they say we sound like we're singing. So
What do you mean? I sound like I'm singing? I don't sound like I'm singing. You're the one that sound like you're singing when you talk.
yep. So,
Well, first,
So some of us, my dad was in the Navy. I'm pretty sure I'm the oldest. And so I was born on the island. My first memories are of San Diego, though, and came back and I went to San Vicente
Wow.
through third grade. And then my parents ended up settling in San Diego, where there's a lot of Chamorros. And now I just want to do a shout out to my hometown. There are now 4 Chamorro restaurants, Gita, San Diego. So,
Wow.
if you
All
get
right.
there, you actually don't get free Kelaguen or red rice anymore. You got to pay for it.
All right.
So,
Sign of the
unless you go to
times.
the Sons and Daughters of Guam Club, which we were part of. So I actually, the accent I shed, I had a slight, when we came back to the island, my siblings and I got teased because we had quote unquote Americano accents from being in San Diego. Then we went to San Diego where we had Chamorro accents, and then we went or rather we went to Virginia, and then we went from Virginia to San Diego where we had Southern accents. So now I basically have no accent. So I don't know what that means, or a sort of, nondescript. But when I get around my Chamorro family, it comes out a little bit. It's there.
Could we kind of just go down the line and maybe introduce you guys yourselves to the audience, and then we'll jump right into the webinar that you guys are doing. So we'll go ahead and start with you, Antoinette.
All right. So I'm very happy we were talking this morning. We had a board meeting, and Guahusi Professor Antoinette Sapphires McDaniel. I am the daughter of Jesus and Victoria Sapphires, Tau Tau Baragata, and Tau Tau Tamuning, and Familian Chungi, and Kapili. So I know a little Chamorro, not very much. So I am a first generation college faculty member. I am a sociologist trained at Yale University. And for decades, again, I'm older than these guys. I'm a nanny boomer, so keep that in mind. So for even now, as I'm teaching, I was either the first or the only Chamorro or even Pacific Islander in my university, in my department. My daughter is now 25 and a half years old. I started teaching my own classes when I was 6 months pregnant with her. And in that entire time, I have had exactly one Pacific Islander student. Who was a football player in Cleveland. So when I found out about, what's interesting, through Christine Camacho's brother, we were down, my husband and I were down in Florida. We ran into Rick Camacho, and he told me about the Liberation, the group. And I said, oh, I've got to get connected. And so we went down to the Liberation. And we were laughing about this because I was hot on the heels of Tim, the board members. And it's not even so much that I wanted to be the board member. It's like, we will have a meeting so that I can share information that Chamorro students and their parents need to know so that they also pursue their college degrees. So this has been a dream of mine for many, many years. And I'm so privileged to have worked with my co-chair, Christine, who is just an amazing project manager. And so she takes the sort of wild-eyed, absent-minded professor in me, and she implements things, and also organized all the marketing, Clarence Mendiola. But Tim, I'm grateful to him and all the board members who recently, they started having these liberation celebrations, but then they really went forward and fought to create, to win nonprofit status. So in part because, this is COVID and a lot of people are doing things online and Zoom, I said, hey, let's do this. Let's do this as a webinar. So it's something I was determined to accomplish. Tim was even joking that I kept asking him about it. He was kind of trying to get me to talk to somebody else who was a board member, Trisha Borja Lawson. But here we are, and I could not have accomplished any of this. The dream would still be a dream if it wasn't for Christine and the Chamorro Association in the Midwest and Tim and all the board members, and as well as all the colleagues that I recruited from Hawaii to University of Minnesota to come along, and undergraduates. And then Christine got a major get in the sense that Zach Banner, who is the first Chamorro NFL player, he was an All-American at USC, is also going to be joining our panel. So we have a wonderful webinar set up. We definitely know you don't have to be in the Midwest. You can be anywhere to attend. We are planning on recording it. To me, it's just so important that Chamorros, especially in the diaspora, see other Chamorros who are professors and doctoral students and fine artists and scholars and undergrads finishing a major in accounting, so that they know that wherever they may be in the diaspora, in the States or on the island, that they can do whatever they want. And we want to welcome them and support their dreams and say, dream even bigger. Dream even bigger. And we're here to bring you into that conversation.
Go ahead, Jason.
Okay, I had a question for Christine, because, I love the way you phrase that, Antoinette, about like the diaspora and being away and, needing that connection to our island roots because of our shared, not just heritage, but our experience, right? Because something as maybe trivial as when a local kid goes off in the mainland to college, something as inconsequential as adjusting to daylight savings time, right? That can have a major cultural shift on that student psychology, like put aside, the academics and the social circles that they now have to become accustomed to, and, driving on the highway with, off ramps and everything like that. Just all of those little environmental changes and everything like that can really have a dramatic impact on someone. So do you guys address, kind of like the cultural shift, in a place where we are so used to relying on our culture?
Yes. So I'm actually the reason. Well, there's a couple things in the cultural shift. So I have two daughters who are out here. I moved to Pittsburgh probably 12 years ago, and even me, moving back from Guam to the East Coast, there was a culture shock essentially. And for my kids, it was the opposite because we live in a predominantly Caucasian area in Pittsburgh. There are very few minorities. There are more now than there were before, but the schools that they go to, they're the only people who look like them. And so going back to Guam or even traveling, the only reason why I ever even met Tim Meno was I heard Chamorro food and Fiesta, and I drove 4 hours to Guam Liberation. And I have every year since 2013. And I've become more involved because there are really no Chamorros in the Pittsburgh area. So my kids have had to do the cultural shock of going back. I recall taking them to their first Guam Liberation, and they're looking around with wide eyes saying, Mom, there are other people that look like us. And even going to Guam was a culture shock for her, you know. And my daughter on the way back when she was in Hawaii, she literally FaceTimed me. She's like, Mom, there's so many brown people. She didn't know what to do with it, right? So it is a cultural shock. And as you can tell, I don't really have my accent. I have it when I talk to my family members, but I have my, you know, I tell people I have my get a job voice, right? This is my get a job. And people think that's funny, but when you think about it, right, the militarization of Guam, the reason why we're here, we were, like, as Antoinette says, as Professor says, is we're here because they were, right? They were there. And with the coming out here, we've shed, our parents raised us to speak English versus being bilingual for the most part in our generation because of what they had to go through, being disciplined in our culture and our language. A lot of that has been taken away from us. And even Guam itself is more westernized than it was decades ago. And so now that there's that Chamorro revolution, this is one of the reasons why we're trying to bring it all together, especially for the diaspora. And this is huge for us, making sure we're in language classes, understanding how we can bring the culture to our, I feel like my kids grew up with a watered down culture compared to what I have. And so we're trying to bring that back so they can have it out here. I hope I answered your question.
Well, you know, my dad was in the military, so I grew up a lot in the States in Oklahoma. And then I moved to Guam when I was hired to work at Guam Cable News in 1996. So I can kind of, you know, relate to what you guys are saying. Tim, though, when was the Chamorro Association of the Midwest first established, and how did it come about?
So here's a funny story. The group started in 2008, or the actually nonprofit started in 2018. But the group itself started way back in 2008, and it started out something small. My mom and dad had a Paul and Anthony Diane Meno. They started a little liberation in their backyard. And from there, I met some Chamorros and said, wow, there is Chamorros out here, like Antoinette and Christine saying. So I'm like, you know, it would be nice if we can get together rather than just doing liberation and do other things where we can actually develop a network and help each other out. But then slowly I found out that everybody is like maybe 50 to 100 miles away from each other.
Yeah.
So that's why we found out it's really crucial that we actually keep in contact with each other. And so we do liberation every year, not just to only celebrate liberation, it's also to get together and show that we're not losing our culture, and also show our kids who didn't grow up on the island what it's about. And when I say liberation, I'm from the South, on Guam. So we are very, what's the word I'm looking for? Committed to our life and culture. So I want to show the kids back here in the States what we grew up with and maybe give a little bit to them. And from there, it started out as a small little liberation come together to where we're at now with the education. So if you were to ask me 8 years ago, would you guys be here, or do you see yourself going here? I would say not really. I mean, but with me meeting Christine Camacho and Antoinette, Trisha Lawson, Eric Natalicio, Jen, I'm surrounded by great individuals, and they're very talented. We got Jen Natalicio. She's used to be one of Jimmy D's dancers. We got Sherry Charmaine. She's one of the Tatatano dancers. We have Antoinette. She's a professor. We have Christine Camacho. We have so much talent out here that it was a shame if I didn't bring them together and just be who we are. We're from Guam, and show people what our culture is about. And people out in the States, I tell you right now, are really excited about us. They invite us to a lot of festivals out here to showcase our culture.
I'm really excited. Just when I saw it pop up on my feed, I was like, we got to get them on, because, our audience, we have so many different people from all around the country and around the world that watches it. And so I'm hoping that if whoever is out there watching right now will take advantage of this. And so then let's just talk about the webinar that you guys are hosting on the 31st, this Chamorro Pathways to Higher Education, because you have almost a dozen people scheduled to participate on the panels, right?
Oh, yes, we
Right.
do.
So, it's interesting because I want to make a couple points. First of all, the Midwest piece is really important because we often, I'm now participating, I'm very lucky. I've been able to participate with Chamorro online language class with Professor Maget Lujan Buvakwa, right? And then start connecting with other Chamorros. And also I've been able to take a couple of his culture and history classes. But as I'm talking with other Chamorros, what's interesting to me is from a Midwest perspective, we're looking at, there's almost a covetousness, if you will. We're looking at California and thinking, oh, you guys have all these organizations and you have, dance groups in Tacoma, Washington. And then there's Haliparaugupa, basically a sister organization based in DC, but we're just getting started here, right? So what I found in talking to many of these people is even where there are organizations, there's still this deep yearning to have Chamorro identity off island affirmed. But so on the one hand, I think that's something that's a commonly expressed sensation about being outside of the island and wanting to really see yourself in the curriculum, for example, in institutions, in leadership. But the opportunities for that in the Midwest are limited. So I think it's really important that we say, that establishing this as an event for students or Chamorro students and their parents outside of California is really important. At the same time, one of the things that was really interesting, because we had this idea months ago, right? And it was really important that we find Chamorro undergrads. I wanted to get current Chamorro undergrads so that they could say to, any of the parents or especially the students, hey, I'm in school right now and it's fine. There are challenges, but it's okay. And sadly enough, it took us a while to find any in Ohio in our network, which was symptomatic of the issue, right? Because as both a parent and a professor who, one of my areas of expertise is actually education, I know that every fall, for example, high schools across the country will have assemblies or parent meetings. And if you don't feel like somebody in the faculty is making you feel welcome that you and your parents should go to one of those assemblies or one of those meetings, that's going to be a problem. And even where there's diversity, maybe faculty who are Black or Latinx, who are saying, representing students of color, they might see the term Pacific Islander nominally included. But the reality is that my colleagues who work in those fields don't really know anything firsthand about Pacific Islanders, real Pacific Islanders, right? So they may know a little bit about Hawaii, but again, through a specific lens. It's like the people in Ohio, it's like, oh, maybe I went for somebody's wedding, their destination wedding. I went and consumed tourist culture, but they didn't know other Pacific Islanders. So we really felt that it was important to find these people, and that held up our organizing for quite some time. And then again, through, I want to put a plug out for the Hafatatat Manuhau Facebook group, which I started to, along with some of the other students, to have a space for, frankly, it was a space off of WhatsApp, which I understand now Chamorros are on every single day. I couldn't follow the threads, and it's like, hey, I can't follow this. So I started the Facebook group, but as more and more people joined, I finally was able to find an undergrad in San Diego, at San Diego State, where my dad actually attended. And I was telling this young man, hey, Uncle Chu is going to be looking over your shoulder in spirit because my dad has passed away. But even then, I think it's important for us to remember that a lot of Chamorros are working class or, enlisted. And just as an example, my father, my parents, and this, I think this is an anomaly, especially in the 1980s. All five of us went to college, 4-year universities. And we did that because my parents pushed us and they sacrificed everything for us. And just an example of that is my dad had the GI Bill. So he was a retired chief in the Navy, and then he went to work for the post office and walked all day. He got back on his motorcycle and he went to San Diego State, but he wasn't doing it to get his degree, and he came up a little bit short. He went so he could get money for the GI Bill, pay for our college tuition. So, I mean, I think there's this sense wherever you're at that Chamorro people, we do focus on our children and we sacrifice for them, but not enough families, again, think or know to go to these assemblies and to, they don't know about the Common App. What is a Common App? We're going to go over that. What is FAFSA? Why do you have to why do you have to fill out this form for the government? And it's really that document is so important because you can actually get financial aid. Mm-hmm. So we also want students to know, hey, if you're not wealthy, it doesn't mean you can't go to college. We just want to give them this really vital information and tell them, and also their parents, hey, look, think about going back to school and getting your degree. Tim is going to be finishing, when are you finishing your degree? In December, right, Tim?
In December.
Yay.
So he's gonna, right. So, and one of our board members went back to school at Ohio State because her daughter completed her degree and she thought, hey, I'm gonna go back. So it's not, as much as we're doing this in the fall, because this is the typical time when high schools hold these assemblies or those meetings for parents, we are also welcoming Chamorros of any age. And I don't want anyone to ever say I'm too old because, hey, I'm going to be 43 and an undergraduate. And my response to that is, you're going to be 43 anyway. So why not be 44 and get your degree? It's got some come along. So we really want everyone to feel welcome. Again, we were organizing this so that we could fill a void for Chamorro traditional high school students and their parents. But we want everyone to come along and just see the plethora of talent and ability and the kinds of scholars and the fact that these scholars, we're talking about Chamorro culture. We want to highlight our experiences as islanders, both Gitza Guahan and Gitza diaspora.
All right. Well, we thank you guys for coming on. Can you give us a little more details in terms of where, when can people take advantage of this webinar?
Yeah, so they can visit the Chamorro Association of the Midwest Facebook page, and like the page, they can go to chamorromidwestassociation.org. It is occurring on Saturday, October 31st from 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern. And it'll take you right there to register. One of the things I wanted to just kind of piggyback off on too is some Chamorros, at least I know when I was growing up, we had babies a little bit early. Life kind of, got in the way and we made different choices, me being one of those people, or, they ended up in sanctuary or differing situations. Being a foster child at one point and then being a young mom, getting pregnant with my first child at 17, we want to make sure that our people know that it's never too late. I'm actually starting my PhD program now. And so we just want to inspire people across the globe to go back to school, and we'll have different segments later down the line, not only to look at 4-year colleges, but 2-year colleges and other options for our people to be represented, no matter where they are.
Thanks, Christine. Tim, any final comments?
Well, simply put, my son one time actually came up to me and asked me that when we used to go to a lot of Chamorro barbecues, is this the Chamorro culture is only about barbecues and drinking beer? That's when it lit a fire underneath me and said, hey, no. We're more than just that. And that's where it brought us to where we're at today. we're showing, we're not showing only just, you know, ourselves, we're also showing our kids that we're not just, you know, this one little thing that people think we are, wearing grass skirts running on the beach. We're more than that. And that's why this webinar is here today, to show everybody that we can be more than what we are. And we want to help everybody grow. So our webinar is open up to everybody. We're not trying to just limit it to just the East Coast or the West Coast. If you're out there and you have questions and you need help, our webpage is open, our Facebook's open. Just add on and become one of our friends, and we'll help you out the best we can.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us this morning.
Thanks, Marcy.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you guys.
Hey, thank you.
Wash your hands. And it's 600
Have a
Harmon
great
Loop
show,
Road.
Chris. Big fan.
600 Harmon Loop Road. If you guys are sending a care package, we've never gotten anything from the Midwest, so we want to give you the opportunity to be the first to send something.
Oh, we'll definitely do that. We definitely will.
Thank
All
you.
right, take
What's up?
care.
No brown tree snakes. We got you.
Okay, Tim, Christine, Antoinette,
All right.
Estajos.
Okay, those were members of the Chamorro Association of the Midwest. They are holding a free webinar, Chamorro Pathways to Higher Education. It is scheduled for October 31st, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern time, I believe. And they've got, you can go onto their Facebook page, and it has all the information on how you can register and a list of the panelists. They've got several people that are going to be sharing their stories about college essays, applications, FAFSA, and the successes experienced after graduation. So make sure to check that out. Again, it's on their Facebook page, Chamorro Association of the Midwest.
All right, let's just go into the K-Wave News Zoom room where we have a standing by. I don't know what his title is this week, but Ken Sanity.